Hello there, I am back. So I've been away for the past couple of months. I'll talk about it more in the comments if you're interested. But anyways, I've been hopping around the world every once in a while, and I've managed to progress up to the production of advanced mechanical essence. Fortunately, I have recorded pretty much everything up to now, so I'll try to do a little bit of a recap of how we've actually made it up to this point. Last time I automated the production of regular mechanical essence, and I started work on upgrading it to improved mechanical essence pretty much instantly, because using the improved mechanical essence I could make myself a storage controller from either refined storage or skystone from applied energetics. So the main ingredients that I'm gonna need are ice, earth, fire, and lightning charges, and basic throw circuits as well, but I'll get to those a bit later. The pack uses a very unique way of getting the very small drops with these dormant effigies that can be infused with different liquids in order to make effigies for a couple of different mobs. For example, lava for blazes or destabilized redstone for basalts. I set up a couple of furnaces to make stone and bone meal, which make calcite in an induction smelter. Chapter 3 also unlocks osmium, which allows me to make machines from mechanism, and they have much better use for some materials like redstone and lapis. Which, when crafted with some glowstone, make lash stones from ProjectE. And then those combine with the calcite from earlier to make dormant effigies. I decided to build a tower of machines to make the fluid for the effigies. And this is where I started using laser IO a lot, since it lets me have item, fluid and energy transportation all on the same site. So at least the build didn't turn out to be too much of a massive DIY monstrosity like I felt it would. Anyways, the infused effigies go into sawmills, which turn them into their respective mob drops, and then those go directly to pulverizers, which make them into powder. Now, since the system was quite slow at first, I decided to work on a better source of power in the meantime, since I was gonna need it pretty soon anyway. I went with the gas burning generator from Mechanism, which uses ethylene. Making ethylene is actually quite simple here, because I can use kelp, which is EMCable, in order to make biofuel. I can also make a pretty good infinite water source using an Evertide amulet inside a basic fluid tank from Mechanism, which provides water to an electrolytic separator, which makes hydrogen. And it also provides water to the pressurized reaction chamber, which basically combines everything and makes ethylene that's extracted directly into a gas burning generator. This also makes a byproduct of substrate, which just goes into a drawer with a void upgrade. Now this actually produces way more power than I thought it would. I think it has been buffed ever since the 1.12 days, The electrolytic separated from the system also produces a byproduct of oxygen, which can be used in order to make sulfur dust, which is useful for the next part of the process, which is making gunpowder. We don't talk about this monstrosity down here, okay? It works, that's what matters. I used some formulaic assemblicators from mechanism in order to craft the elemental charges. For no real reason other than that I just want to use something different than the sequential fabricators from thermal. A useful feature of these is the ability to add recipes directly from GEI instead of having to basically click each component one by one inside. Now that the elemental charges are done, the only thing left is basic control circuits, which was a much simpler and more compact setup. 2 enrichment chambers for enriched redstone and a smelter for osmium. Add them together in the metal educate fusor and you've got yourself a basic control circuit. Much easier than ProjectE, eh? The recipe for improved mechanical weapons needs a heated blaze burner. Now thankfully the blaze burner is pretty easy to make using a blaze FG. So in order to fuel the blaze burner I'm using a mechanical arm with some coal. And it did take me like a solid 5 minutes of just connecting this depot to various pipes until I finally realized that it just holds one item and that's it. Kinda just ended up with this. Probably don't even need the hopper to be honest, but that's just how it is. At least the mechanical arm is smart and doesn't waste fuel, so I don't need to make a fancy limiting system with redstone just yet. With that, I now produce improved mechanical weapons, and that means I can make myself a storage system. Normally, I always use supply and logistics, but this time I didn't really feel like dealing with channels, so I decided to go with refined storage instead. Finishing up chapter 3 gives me access to a couple of new materials, but the most important one for now is oil clumps, which can be used in place of slime balls for processor bindings. After making a small batch of all the main processors, I made the very first part of a refined storage system. A controller, a disk drive, a crafting grid, and a couple of storage drives as well. Now it was time for the best part of any mod pack. Another upgrade that is now available is the transmutation interface. It just needs some red matter and a couple energy condensers. Basically, it gives me access to all of my EMCable items straight from my storage system. All I have to do is add an external storage. After that, it was all crafting time. Thankfully, it's a much easier process with device storage. Just make some crafters, connect them up with cables, and that's about it, pretty much. Now, crafting with machines is a little bit more complicated because unlike with A2, I can't send the output directly back to the crafters into my system. So instead, I decided to use a XNet system in order to extract all the outputs and insert them into this interface, which then sends them all back to storage. With that out of the way, I started working on some infrastructure improvement. So I made a new windmill and used it to power a setup to wash soul sand in order to get nether quartz. I also added a little cobblworks factory next to it, so I have gravel, sand, glass, and obsidian stocked up whenever I need it. Another nice little quality of life improvement that I made is adding these drawers on top of my ingot production. So for example, I have iron and copper here, and basically it's just connected to a drawer controller on top with an external storage. And what this basically means is that I can take any machine I need, like say an enrichment chamber, and I can just craft it easily. Going through the endgame recipes also shows me that the final star shard over here requires every single one of the mechanical essences that I've been making, and I need 20 to make one, and I also need a bunch of shards in order to make everything. So I've added some draw buffers to the end of my mechanical essence production. So I have basic here, regular over there, and improved over there. And really that's about it for all the improvements that I want to make right now. So now it's time to start progressing again with tier 4 advanced mechanism. So the first thing that I decided to start working on was the production of refined fuel using oil clumps So the oil clumps are first melted in a magnet crucible and make crude oil, which then goes through a fractionating still, which makes heavy oil and light oil. And additionally, it also makes a byproduct of bitumen, which I decided to just throw in a trash can since there really is no use for it. Anyways, the heavy oil and light oil are split into two different fractionating stills, which convert them into refined fuel. And again, these also have solid byproducts that are basically useless, so I just sent all those to a trash can as well. And then the refined fuel just goes inside the buffer tank, then I can use it later on. Now I didn't really know how much refined fuel I was gonna need, so I built the setup to be expandable upwards if I ever need more production. So the next step in the process is going to be making eggs, and I can make them using the vanilla way of just setting up a chicken farm. But of course, this is modded, so there's always a cheaty way to do things. And that cheaty way is by bulk hunting dough from Create, which is made by bulk washing wheat flour, which is made by throwing wheat inside a millstone. So I decided to go on a little bit of a side quest with immersive engineering, so I had to make myself an engineer's workbench along with an engineer's blueprint, which allowed me to make various electronic components. And the portal one here was the incandescent light bulb, which allows me to make a garden cloche. And then I can use the garden cloche along with some water in order to grow some wheat seeds and make myself some wheat. And after that, it was time to do some more Create. So after constructing yet another one of my glorious windmills, I was able to set up a quick little system to wash wheat flour into dough. And then hunting that dough into eggs. And of course everything is very gently wired, as Create should be, to be honest. In addition to the eggs, I'm also gonna need sugar and cinnamon flour in order to create blaze cake bases. And thankfully these were much simpler setups, since sugarcane is actually EMCable. And netherrack need to be thrown in a crushing wheel in order to create cinder flour. Then all three ingredients were set into a basin with the mechanical press, which makes blaze cake bases. So in order to make the bases into blaze cakes themselves, we need to add the final cherry on top, which is lava. And there we go. Our blaze cakes are ready for use. But first there's a couple more things that need to be made. The first one of which is the fissile fuel pellet. So the first step here is gonna be to smelt down some raw uranium. So I have an exporter here set to raw uranium, and I guess I'll add power later on. So I think the only thing this thing needs is just enough to eject. And now from there, I believe we'll need an enrichment chamber, and this is gonna make the uranium ingots into yellow cake uranium, and the yellow cake uranium is going to go into a chemical oxidizer, just like that, and that is going to make uranium oxide, which is going to be infused inside the chemical infuser. So I think maybe something like this. Yeah, that's gonna work. So yeah, at least the first step in the process is going to be fairly easy. So the other part of the equation here, in order to convert uranium oxide into uranium hexafluoride, we're gonna need some hydrofluoric acid. which is made with fluoride and sulfuric acid. Okay, so it's me from the future here, and while setting down this part, I realized that I can't just put the machines down and didn't really explain what they were doing, so I'll try to do that now. So we start with this chemical dissolution chamber, which is making sulfuric acid and fluoride into hydrofluoric acid. And over here, the enrichment chamber is making fluoride ore, which is EMCable, directly into fluoride. And then the chemical infuser back here is making sulfur dioxide and water vapor and sulfuric acid. And the water vapor is coming from this guy, the rotary condensator, which makes water into water vapor. Then the sulfur dioxide comes from this chemical infuser that does sulfur dioxide plus oxygen, and it's getting the oxygen from this electrolytic separator. And sulfur dioxide is coming from this chemical oxidizer, which is using sulfur that it gets from this pressurized reaction chamber, which combines water, oxygen, and coal and makes sulfur dust. And obviously gets water from this basic fluid tank with an airtight amulet inside. And finally, I guess the coal comes from this enrichment chamber, which takes coal ore and makes it directly into coal from a exporter from refined storage. Using an isotope centrifuge converts the uranium hexafluoride into fissile fuel, and then that combines with some fluoride dust inside the purification chamber, and that makes fissile fuel pellets. Now I did already make some Mobius fuel as part of the dark matter used for the Swift Wolf's Redding KO. So that leaves only one thing on the list, which is elite control circuits. Now I do already have a setup for making basic control circuits. However, I just decided to make an entirely new setup because it was just going to be a bit easier to handle all the logistics. I decided to start with making the infused and reinforced alloy first. So the infused alloy is just a combination of redstone and iron inside the metallurgical infuser. And then the infused alloy is combined with diamonds in order to make reinforced alloy. Afterwards, this is pretty much the same setup as over there, where it makes basic control circuits. Then the basic control circuits are combined with infused alloy to make advanced, and then the advanced gets combined with the enforced, and it makes the elite control circuit. And that should cover everything I need for advanced mechanical essence. Now of course I've already started making Mobius fuel all the way back when I made the Swift Wolf Serenity KO, so I can easily just add an exporter to a drawer. And there you go. That should probably be enough. Now in order to actually craft the recipe here, I'll need to use a superheated blaze burner, which uses the blaze cakes that I'm making over here. And because I'm not exactly sure if I'm making them fast enough, I decided to add a little bit of redstone control to this little system here. And I already built it because I'm not exactly the biggest redstone guy, so I had no idea how much time it was actually going to take me. So it's actually a pretty simple setup. So first I have a laser node here, and this is 2 item cards on center mode. So the first one is gonna be looking inside the basin here, and basically it's going to emit a redstone signal if there's 32 or more inert advanced mechanical weapons inside, which is the output of the recipe. And then it's gonna go down here and it's gonna send the redstone signal into a clutch, and this clutch is basically going to stop the rotational force from coming into the mechanical arm, which I use in order to give the blaze burner some blaze cakes. And then the second sensor card is basically looking at if there's enough ingredients for the recipes inside. And then that redstone signal then gets sent down here. It's this redstone torch which is going to invert the signal. And since these two clutches are connected, it basically means that if either one of these redstone signals are on, then the mechanical arm here won't run at all. So basically the end result should be that if there is enough ingredients inside the basin and the output does not fall, then the mechanical arm should be able to run, and it should be able to provide the blaze burner with blaze cakes. Now actually one good thing about the mechanical arm is that it doesn't waste blaze cakes. So if for example the blaze burner is currently superheated, that won't give it another blaze cake. So at least I won't have to worry about that. Now honestly I haven't actually tested out to see if the system will work, so I guess it's no time like the present. So let's add some laser nodes to the lead circuit and vessel fuel pellets. One over here on the Mobius fuel. And finally I guess can just reuse this one. Well, I probably messed up something here. Yeah, it should be and. So it looks for everything. So theoretically it should turn on now. And as you can see, that makes some inert advanced mechanical weapons. And now when it reaches touch 2, then this cock should stop spinning. There we go, perfect. Okay, I guess my system works then. And now that's gonna have one extra step. So the inert advanced mechanical essence is gonna have to go into a fluid encapsulator with their refined fuel in order to make the real refined mechanical essence. So let's insert from the side and I guess from the bottom. And let's give it a couple augments. That should work out. A flux point for power. And that should do it. And now switch to extract. And this should fill in. Alright, it's supposed to be up. Okay. Let's place it down here then. Now let's reconnect it down here. And this should start filling up now. Now this guy is gonna need actually just one filter card. with in order to advance mechanical weapons. And if I set this one to extract, we should be good. Oh, that's gonna take a while. Okay, one last piece work has finally finished. Though we have to look into a way to make this process much faster. An advanced mechanical crystal, and finish up the chapter. And this is gonna unlock the final EMCable material, Essence of Darkness. And I think that's about everything I've been up to on this world for the past few months. So I think I'm gonna slow down a little bit for the next few episodes and work on just one thing at a time. So I'm thinking that for next episode I might have to set up antimatter production. And to be honest, even though I have played quite a bit of the new version of Mechanism, just other packs in my own time, I've never actually set up antimatter production. So we'll see how that goes. Anyways, I just want to thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.